What is going on, ladies and gentlemen? Welcome back to another video. I'm sorry it's taken me so long to make another video, but I was on holidays, so it was a really good time. Spent a couple of weeks over in Cuba, so I wasn't able to make any uploads. I did pre-upload a couple of videos. One of them went pretty well, and then the other one I had to take down because a new patch came out and that information was no longer accurate or relevant. So I had to definitely bring down that video, which was pretty sad because I did put a lot of work into these videos, but nevertheless, we're bringing you guys a Pudge video today, and we're going to be telling you guys why Pudge has a 50.83% win rate. Now, if you're a Pudge specialist, you've always been able to play Pudge. There's always been better metas for Pudge, but I think this one is a pretty solid meta for Pudge just because there's a lot of brawling, there's a lot of team fighting, and Pudge benefits from very active metas. But when it comes to actually playing Pudge, you kind of have to be a little bit of a specialist because you have to be able to land those hooks. More often than not, you end up griefing your team when you actually can't land hooks. You end up getting flamed a lot. So I do recommend you guys practicing your hooks before actually getting into a game or practicing in non-ranked games because you will get flamed. Most of the time, I end up practicing a few games before I end up going into a ranked game and playing the Pudge because I know I will get flamed if I end up missing a few hooks here and there. And most of the time, you end up landing the hard hooks, but the easy hooks, you end up missing them, which is really the sad part about playing Pudge. At least for me, that's what usually happens. The really tough hooks are the ones I'm able to land more consistently, but the very easy hooks are the ones that I second guess myself, and I kind of feel that pressure of, damn, if I miss this hook, people are just gonna laugh. And that is kind of like the pressure of playing Pudge. But if you can deal with that, you can definitely play Pudge and have a lot of fun. It's a very fun hero to actually play and get to learn. The hero has a lot of utility, and any hero that can relocate another enemy hero is always going to be very important, especially for the runes. If you're playing Pudge from the mid lane and you are hunting for those runes, hunting for that perfect hook, you can get somebody under tower and dismember them or do a lot of damage to them. So hook is one of your most important tools, and then you have to focus on dismember. So I recommend playing Pudge with very active lineups so you're able to get more flesh heaps because you infinitely scale with that, and it makes you extremely tanky in the mid to late game. If you are super active and you're getting a lot of kills or you're getting involved in them, you're going to be getting those flesh heaps, which are extremely important for the Pudge. But if you guys are facing lineups with a ton of crowd control, a ton of stuns, I don't recommend playing the Pudge the typical way where you're playing a whole lot around dismember. I would like to play the Pudge around more or less being this big beefy frontliner, playing it with a pipe, maybe a vanguard if need be, with a crimson. It honestly depends on what you're going up against. If you can't reliably get off your dismember, which is a really big part of your kit, then you need to make sure you are jumping the backline, you're jumping the stunners, you are jumping the weak targets that you're able to get rid of quite quickly. Heroes like Troll Warlord, Anti-Mage, these types of heroes don't want to get dismembered. They don't want to be locked down because they will die. They're quite fragile heroes, but if they're able to do the damage to you and you're not able to land your hooks, you're going to be in a world of pain. Pudge is usually a pretty strong hero for you guys to have in your lineups because even from soft support or off lane or mid, you're going to be doing quite a bit of work just because you can roam around the map and do very nice plays, and you don't really need a whole ton of farm to be able to make plays. Most of the time I end up getting mana boots or phase boots. It honestly depends. Usually if I'm playing in the side lanes, I'll get the mana boots. If I'm playing mid lane, I will be getting the phase boots. It makes me get the runes a lot faster. It makes me get from point A to point B much faster, and I won't need that mana because I will be rocking with a bottle. That's going to be very important. So definitely pick your playstyle. If you want to be a playmaker, then you definitely go for the phase boots blink. But if you guys want to be this type of tanky type Pudge, then either get a pipe or get yourself a vanguard to deal with a lot of physical damage if need be. But one of my favorite builds to actually go on Pudge is phase boots, Aghanim Scepter, Eternal Shroud, Bloodstone into Shard if not from the Tormentor, and then Kaya Sanj or a BKB if need be. I've even dabbled into Radiance after Aghanim Scepter. Obviously it's extremely greedy, and it's in games where I was facing up against heroes like Phantom Lantern, Naga Siren, heroes that I definitely want to be able to absolutely obliterate the illusions. And the Bloodstone build is absolutely no joke. If you're able to just stand your ground and hit rot, you're going to be doing a ton of AoE damage, and if you have that Radiance, you're going to be doing even more, but it's not necessary. Your Aghanim Scepter is super strong. Even though it's been nerfed in recent times, it's still a really strong Aghanim Scepter, and it's highly recommended on core Pudge. You could also get an Ether Lens to increase that hook. It's always going to be very important if you do rely on that. I don't typically rely a whole lot on the hook. Obviously if I can land it, that's great, but if not, I'm able to just blink on top of the target, rot, and dismember. That's why I usually play around the facet fresh meat, which basically every time you're doing damage with dismember, your strength gets increased. So it's very important for me to be super tanky And if you have your cooldowns lowered by items like Octarine, you're going to be getting a lot of strength from Dismember because you're going to be able to use it much more often, and you're just going to be a super tanky hero around the map. That's my playing style. That's the way I like to play Pudge. It's more of a tanky type style. That's more of my type of play style on the Pudge, but other players like to be a lot more flashier with the hooks and such. I just like to be able to sit, stand my ground, and just do a ton of damage and do whatever I want on the map and being pretty much unkillable. So basically the best positions you guys can play Pudge is offlane, mid, and soft support or position 4. Those are the best positions. As of right now, I think Pudge is a better mid laner if you are proficient at the hero. If not, then play him support or offlane, but don't just sit in the trees. Don't just wait for that perfect hook. Try and make plays that don't revolve around the hook all the time, because sometimes people just won't give you that opportunity to hook. If they're good players, they're going to realize they're going to be going for that and they know a Pudge is missing. They're going to play extra careful and they're not going to be giving you so many opportunities to hook, and you're going to be burning a lot of time. So go for the hook. If you land it, great. If you don't, go do something else around the map. Go stack a camp, go take a camp, because rot is really good. Even though you're going to be taking quite a bit of damage, if you use your flesh heap, you're going to be able to take a lot less damage, and the more flesh heaps you have, the less damage you're going to be taking from your rot. So you can actually farm a few stacks here and there. Even as a support, you should be farming on this hero. You should be doing things around the map and should be going for plays around the mid lane as much as possible. Don't just sit in the trees and wait for that right hook, because if you end up missing it, it's just going to be like you wasted 30 seconds to a minute of doing absolutely nothing. And it pains me to see a lot of players doing this in low MMR. It's very sad to see. Definitely don't do that. It's the worst way to play Pudge. Don't just sit in the trees. Play active and do as much as possible around the map. Roam, kind of like if you guys were playing a Tusk. Go make plays. Some of the problems with Pudge is if you're dealing with a lot of stuns, your Dismember is not going to be as great, and if you get locked down enough, you're not as tanky in the early game and it can become quite annoying. So you need to be very careful on what items you're playing Pudge up against, because you could definitely feed. It could definitely be quite difficult, but usually items like Vessel and Shivas are very strong against you. If you don't have a Dispel or you don't have a BKB, you could definitely struggle with items like that, but mostly you're going to be struggling with high control lineups. But once a Pudge is snowballing, it can feel very difficult to actually bring him down. If you keep the pressure up, get those flesh heaps, the enemy team is going to put a lot more emphasis on actually getting rid of you, meaning you're going to be giving more space to your offlaner or your hard carry to be able to do more work, because they're going to be using all their cooldowns on a very tanky Pudge. Now let's break down some of the best and worst matchups for the Pudge. Some of the best are Sniper, Legion Commander, Drow Ranger, Axe, Necrophos, Viper. All these heroes you're good up against, especially Legion Commander. You can disrupt her duel. You could either hook her out of the duel or you can hook your ally and you could swallow them with your shard, which is honestly extremely underrated. I love playing with the shard. I love being able to blink in, swallow my core, or walk up to them, swallow them, and then walk away, or blink away at least. You can do so many things with it, so many saves. It's a very important shard. I definitely recommend either buying it or getting it from the Tormentor, so put a lot of priority on that. At least third or fourth item, you should have your shard already. It's just a shard that's very overlooked, and I think it's super important to have as a part of your kit. You're going to be saving a lot of heroes on your team, and it also helps out with your Dismember, so that's always a great tool. But heroes like Necrophos definitely don't want to see you. Heroes like Viper don't want to see you either. So if you can land those hooks, and especially against heroes like Sniper, who definitely don't want to be relocated, who are very slow heroes. They do a lot of damage if they're in the right position, but if you're able to hook them away, you're going to be getting some free kills onto these heroes. And they're pretty popular mid laners. Heroes like Sniper, Necrophos, Viper, they're usually pretty popular in the mid lane. Necrophos not so much anymore, but still being played here and there, and you can definitely play the Pudge and run them over. Some of the bad matchups are Bat Rider, Lion, Ursa, Beastmaster, Monkey King. So heroes that do very heavy physical damage, heroes like Monkey King and Ursa, there's not a whole lot you can do to them. If the Monkey King stands his ground and you're not able to pull him out of Wukong's command, you're pretty much going to die more often than not. But Monkey King is a pretty trash hero in the meta, so you shouldn't be too concerned about that. Most Monkey Kings being played right now are actually support, so you shouldn't be too scared about that. But heroes like Lion and Bat Rider are a big pain in the ass. They just have so much slow, so much stun, and then Hex. Pretty difficult to actually play against these matchups, but they're absolutely not unplayable. You can definitely play up against them. It's just a little bit more annoying and more tedious. Focus these matchups a little bit more, and if you do manage to get the jump on an Ursa before he gets his enrage, he can actually be quite easy to kill. But if he enrages first, you're not going to be killing him. It's going to be very difficult for you to do a whole lot to the Ursa, because he can easily fury swipe you to death, and it can become a very big issue. Let me know in the comment section below what you guys think about Pudge this current patch. I think he's definitely quite playable. He's quite strong. I wouldn't say he's a meta meta breaker or anything like that, but I always say if you're a Pudge specialist, it's always a pretty decent meta for you guys, because if you can land hooks, you're gonna be doing quite well. Hopefully you guys enjoyed the video. If you guys did, a like would be much appreciated. I will see you guys in the next one. Thank you so much for watching.